What's up, guys? Jake here with a quick message before we get on to our show. Please make sure that you like this video below, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, and also make sure that you sign up for notifications. With your guys' help, we can ensure that all of the guests get the right attention and audience that they deserve. I thank all of you guys for joining me along this very adventurous journey, and now let's get on to the show. What is up, peeps? I am ecstatic for this conversation. We actually have a fellow East Sider in the building today.
East Side.
All day. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the TV show The Four, but this man has appeared on it twice. He is, as he goes by, underrated and overjudged, Dylan Jacob.
Oh, man. I appreciate that. That was an introduction right there, for sure.
Oh, man, we could have gone on for days and days, but we'll get into it.
Yeah, most definitely. I'm ready.
So let's actually, I find you actually pretty interesting because you kind of found your way through performing on Fremont Street. Mm-hmm. And generally when you see performers on Fremont Street, it has kind of like a negative stigma towards it, but you use that as like your testing ground.
Yeah, it was like, it's funny because I actually think about this all the time, even now. I'm like, I sit back and I put it into categories for me. It's like, we have the same job. And like you said, there's a lot of people on Fremont who they perform or they dance but they're crackheads, you know? They're real drug addicts. Like, they don't do anything with their life except for make a little bit of money for drugs and go buy drugs and then like come back and dance for 15 hours. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, in my head, I've always kept the mindset of we're the same though. We have the same job category. To anybody who isn't in our environment, we are looked at as the same. So that's why when I went out there, I made it a big point to separate myself. I dressed different. I always had a haircut. And I told that to people, and they all thought I was crazy. They all thought like, oh, no, you don't need to do that to make money. Did it? And I told everybody, I'm like, look, man, if y'all want to make money, look like you make money. You know what I'm saying? Because people, they might give you $1. They might give you $5 if you look like you need it. You know what I'm saying? But if you don't need it, if you look like you're just out here because you love to be out here, it's a different feeling. Like, it's a different emotional connection, you know?
Yeah, so you want to be in more of the mindset and appearance of a performer rather than just kind of like a side pony show.
Exactly. Especially now, I go out there with the mindset of, y'all didn't give me a stage. You know, like, there's stages on Fremont. There's stages that they could have let me have, you know what I'm saying? And due to whatever the reason, they're owned by casinos and I'm not 21, or the yada yada, you know, the ins and outs. I've never been given a stage by my own city, you know? So I kind of went into it with like,
it's like a chip on your shoulder.
Yeah, there's something to prove mindset. Like, no, I'm going to sit and I'll make a bigger crowd on the floor than the person that you have on the stage. And y'all will see, like, we can see. Because at the end of the day, feel me, you could put that person on a stage, but the numbers don't lie. Like, if I'm sitting and doing more people and I'm sitting on the street, like, there's a reason for that.
How old were you when you performed for the first time on Fremont Street?
14.
Wow.
I had just turned 14.
What gave you the idea to perform out there?
I went down there with my mom, and my mom was celebrating her birthday, and I went down there, and I seen somebody rapping. He had like a whole crowd too, and to me, I thought it was dope, you know, immediately, because I've always had like music in my blood. I tell that to everybody. Like, music has always been around me and my family. I just didn't know I was good at it, you know? Sorry, that's the diabetes. But music has always been around me and my family, just in my life. I never knew I was good at it. I never knew what I was good at until I went and tried it. And I was always like a go-getter type of kid, you know what I'm saying? I was 13, 12.
Yeah, you wanted more. You wanted more.
Exactly. And I was living at the budget suites. I didn't even have the money to like go do my laundry. You know, we didn't have laundry inside the house. Like, we had to go to a laundromat and we had to go pay for it. So I didn't have the money to go do that. So I made it a goal in my life. Like I was literally on Craigslist at 12 years old, 13 years old, looking up jobs.
That's insane.
Like mowing people's lawns and things like that, because I didn't live in a neighborhood where I could just go walk around and be like, hey, I'll mow your lawn, or hey, I'll do your gardening or whatever for this amount of money. So what I did, because I couldn't find anything, was I would go door to door and knock on people's doors, which anybody who's been to the Budget Suites, like anybody who's from Vegas or from anywhere where you have weeklies, know, like, you're not supposed to talk to your neighbors. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is not the place where you go looking for people. Like, this is the place where you just mind your own business. You know what I'm saying? But here I am, like 11, 12 years old. I'm knocking on people's doors, like, boop, 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 boop. Hey, can I take your trash out for 50 cents? And I would collect all these 50 cents throughout the day. And it would only be like 10, 12 people who would say yes. But that money would give me enough to at least do my laundry. You know what I'm saying? So I'll do my laundry for school and stuff like that, because, you know what I'm saying, my family didn't always have the ability to take care of those needs, or they weren't prioritized as they properly should be, at least in my mind, you know? And so when I went down on Fremont, I'm seeing this person, and he's making hella money. He's just back to back. There's money coming in the bucket. And I'm like, I'm thinking it's a lot of money. So when I first started on Fremont, it all started, long story short, I seen him. I was like, look, let me try. He let me try. I built a crowd for my own. So it gave me this immediate confidence. I wasn't even good, but it just gave me this immediate confidence, like, oh, people like me. Like, there's a magnetic attraction, you know? And I realized that very young, because I realized that I was always different, but I was kept inside. I was often like very distanced from any social activity around me, you know? Or the only socialness that I had with anybody was older people. So I never got to hang out with kids my age.
So you grew up faster.
Exactly. But I didn't know what was special about me until I grabbed that mic. And once I grabbed that mic, I realized it was like there's a magnetic attraction. Like when I do what is in me to do, what's meant for me to do, like, it doesn't matter if I suck or if I'm doing good, like, people are going to stop and people are going to come watch me, because it's this magnetic attraction that pushes out. So when I realized that, immediately I started asking my mom. Like, my mom came to the crowd. I have this whole crowd of people, and she's watching like, what the heck? Like, she's never even seen me rap before, right? So I'm like, I start asking my mom, like, hey, Mom, can we go down? Can we go down? Can we go down? And I start meeting this guy. And he's letting me rap. You know what I'm saying? And he starts chipping me off, like, $30, $50 a night. And I'm like, bro, I'm making bread.
Yeah, you're making, that's like 60 door knocks right there.
Exactly. You feel me? Like, that's a lot of money for me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, man, I'm making bread. I would go home and I used to tell my mom, like, oh, dinner's on me tonight. Like I would be so generous, because I've never had money like that accessible to me. You know, that was a lot of money for me. Like, that was a lot of money for my family, let alone me, you know? So did this kind of thing ever take priority over attending high school? Was it only strictly a weekend thing? Did you go perform on the weekdays? That was the thing, was I started out, I only performed like rarely, honestly. I didn't even get to perform as much as I would have wanted to. But because I ended up, basically my mom the whole time was telling me, he's ripping you off, the guy I'm with. She's like, he's ripping you off. Like, they're giving you a lot of money when you go and rap, and he's giving you $30 at the end of the night. And I'm seeing 520s going to the bucket. And I'm not paying attention. So I'm just like, Mom, you're crazy. Like, he's doing me all right. And then I realized it, because he started like kind of ducking me, you know? Like, I'm asking him, like, bro, when are you going to be out? Because I'm coming out and he's not out there. And I'm like wasting my parents' time. I'm wasting my mom's time. Like, she's coming and taking me out here. She just got off work, like working 12 hours. And like, I'm out here looking for a person who's not even here, who won't even answer the texts or phone calls. Like, the only way I could get a hold of him was texting his baby mama. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? So I come up to him one day and he's like, oh, bro, I think you should go get your own stuff. And I'm like, okay, bet, for sure. And luckily, my mom had told me right away, like, you should be saving. Like, this little bit of money that you got, start saving it. You know what I'm saying? Stop being so generous to everybody. Start saving a little bit of money. So I started saving. I took half of everything I would make every night, and I just put it away. I had a couple $100s put away and stuff. So I went and I bought a speaker. shitty speaker. I bought this karaoke speaker, and I bought this plastic mic. I remember everything, and I got it all from a pawn shop. Like, it was like $200 worth of stuff, and I even needed to borrow money from my mom, so I borrowed money from my mom, paid her right back, like after I made the money back. But that was the thing, is when I started going by myself, it was only a weekend thing. It was only when my mom had time to take me. You know what I'm saying? And that was the start of it. But then I started getting good. And when I started getting good, it was like a whole different thing, because it was a whole different environment. You know, I started in middle school, and school was very important to me because I was actually learning things, I felt like, you know?
Yeah, you're still so young. You haven't really matured. Your brain hasn't formed. Life is still so new.
Exactly.
But having that spatial awareness it's very rare, especially at a young age.
Exactly. And that's, I think, what really separated me, is because I knew in my head, like, I'm not ready to go and just leave school. I'm not ready to go and just, because I knew that would not only cripple my intelligence and like my growth, that would cripple like my social. I'd probably be super antisocial.
Yeah,
you
you'd
know
have some social anxiety.
Super, because I don't have a outlet to be able to be around people, because school was the only time that I was social. School was the only time where I had the chance to go talk to kids my age, because other than that, I was never around kids my age. You know, in the budget suites, they don't even let kids go play outside. So it's like,
it's risky.
Exactly. And so you can't skateboard, you can't bicycle, all the things that bring kids together when you're young, you can't do those things. So when we were hanging out doing, you know, bad shit, or hanging out with older kids, because the older kids could play outside and they wouldn't get stopped by the security. They wouldn't do this, they wouldn't do that. And I think that's really just what made me realize that I'm not ready to leave school right now. You feel me? But then as time progresses, you know, you start maturing, you get older. And I started realizing by like 9th grade, I was really trying hard, right? I was living in the budget suites on Tropicana. So I was going to like a good school. I was going to Durango. And long story short, I took my first trip to LA, and it was for some music stuff. It was literally less than 24 hours. I come back, my whole house was flipped. My whole house was robbed. And this was like 2 years after I started on Fremont. So I was making money by then, right? I had a safe, I had shoes galore, because like I was buying stuff. You give a kid who never had nothing some money, he's going to go crazy, you know? So I went crazy. And that was like my wake-up call was, oh, as fast as I got everything,
it could come crashing down real fast.
It could get taken away just as fast.
Do you think that was a targeted attack?
Oh yeah, for sure. It was a person who I had thought was close to me, and last person in my house. Nobody else knew I was leaving town, and then I came home and everything was gone. Everything. I'm talking about everything. They took everything. They took one of my mom's dildos, like everything. You know what I'm saying? Literally everything. So immediately I'm telling my mom, I'm like, all right, Mom, we got to move. Because if this were to happen while somebody was home, this would be a whole different story right now. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm moving with my brother, and I go back to the east side. And when I went back to the east side, I go to Chaparral. And when I went to Chap,
shout out.
Feel me? But this is the thing, is when I went to Chap, they were so behind on the what's it called?
On what, educational standards?
They were so behind from where Durango was.
Yeah, it's a very poverty-stricken high school.
Exactly.
The people don't even want to be there. When I would walk to school, half of the entire school attendance would be walking the other way. Yeah. They wouldn't even show up. No one really cared.
Or in the smokers circle.
Yeah, the smokers
across
pit.
The street.
Yeah,
exactly.
Smokers pit in the dirt lot.
Exactly. Like everybody who's been there knows that it's like one of those schools where it's like if you don't have to say nothing, you're not gonna say nothing. And that goes for the teachers, that goes for everybody. So when I got there, I really I started losing all care about trying.
Yeah,
you know?
that's cool, and you know, I went to Shop, and I'm grateful to go there. But the majority of the people who attend there very complacent with what they're content with how their life is.
Exactly.
It's generally like that after high school too.
And that area is very poverty stricken. Mm-hmm. So it's like that's the only thing they've known, but they're content with that life, like you said. So it's like me, I was never like that. I lived in that area, and being back there, that was actually the good time for me. I ended up moving in with my brother, me and my mom. And for the first time ever in my life, I started paying rent, and I got my own room.
How old were you?
15.
Paying rent at 15?
Yeah, 15, okay. About to be 16. And I started paying rent because my brother's roommate moved out, and I was like, let me take over the room and I'll pay you the same rent. So I started paying rent, and that's the first time ever in my life that I had got my own room. Before that, I've never had my own space. So I was up, like I was at the top of the world when I was back on the east side, you know what I'm saying? But then I started going to school, and they were so far behind on the curriculum that when I would go, they would be like, oh, we have nothing for you to do, so just sit here.
It's more complacency.
And I'm like,
stacking on
I'm like, just sit here. Okay, all right. So I started just sitting there, right? And then I realized all the assignments that they're doing, they're marking me as if I didn't do them. They're marking them missing. And I'm like, y'all are telling me to just sit here but not giving me the assignments. And they're like, oh, well, we're this many chapters in the book and it's almost over, so you're just going to have to take these missing assignments and then you can hop on the next.
Yeah, they're like writing you off immediately.
Right. And I'm like, what the hell? So I went from having like a 3.5, 3.8 GPA at Durango to just dropping down to like a 2.0. And it wasn't even my fault. Like they were just literally making me sit through everything. And so I lost all care about trying. I lost all, because I'm like, it's at that point I had ran into that wall that it's like, it's not my fault. But I knew that like I could always come back. But it was one of those things where it's like, you get kind of so hung up over that. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. Why should I care if it's not my fault? You know? And I think that's really where I got for a minute. So it kind of just turned me into like a bad kid. You know, I started hanging out with bad kids again. I started like, I didn't even come to school. If I did, I'd come at lunch and then I would sleep through all my classes, even after I was caught up on the curriculum and everything like that, because I was like, for so long, y'all didn't have me do anything. So everybody started looking at me as like the slacker, right? So if you're going to say that I'm a slacker, all right, I'll be a slacker for sure. But I would pass all my classes with like a C- because I would not come, I would do
bare minimum.
I would do bare minimum. I hate busybody work. And I tell that to every teacher I ever had. I hate busybody work. So when we're doing like writing and stuff, I don't want to do the bubble maps. I don't want to do any of that. And they're like, well, I'm sorry, that's part of the curriculum. And I'm like, but I'm telling you, like, personally, that's going to mess me up. Like, I can't write a story like that. It's too, just like you said before, you said, I don't write questions because it's too structured, you know? And it's like, it takes all the freedom away from a conversation. That's how I can't write a story with a bubble map because it's too structured and it takes all the freedom away from the story, and it's not going to be an interesting story. I would literally sit down, write a rough draft, go over, take the revisions for like spelling and punctuation and stuff like that, and then turn it in. And it would be so good that the teacher would model it and like would say, this is how you write a story. But wouldn't tell the class that I didn't do a bubble map, wouldn't tell the class that I didn't do any of that. You know what I'm saying? And so I wouldn't do none of the busybody work, but I'll come in at the end of the week and I'll pass the test with an A. And if I'm passing the test with an A, it doesn't matter about all the other assignments because I'm still getting like a C- or a D+. So I'm passing the class. But that's how I went through like my whole 9th grade year. And then sophomore year started and I'm just like, it's the same. I'm slacking. You know what I'm saying? I'm a real slacker now. Like I barely come to class. If I'm there, I'm sleeping the whole time. I'm acing the tests. But I'm not doing anything else, like anything at all. You know what I'm saying? And it's not something that I look back and take pride in, but it's something that I mention because I think that was the breaking point in my life where I realized that I'm not going to school to learn anymore. I'm going to school to make face. I'm here to look cool in front of my friends more than I am to go and learn something new. I'm here to...
You're going through the motions.
Exactly. I'm just here to pass. I'm here because my mom says I have to be here. And at the same exact time, I remember I put a prayer up and I said, like, just like, let me know what I should do. Because at this time, I'm like, I don't want to go to school no more, you know, because I feel like it's decreasing my character, you know?
It's decreasing your productivity too for what you could be doing.
Exactly.
I'm sure that Fremont freestyle is in the back of your mind too.
Exactly. And it's like even if it's not Fremont, it's just I could be making music. I could spend time making connections. I could go be out in public learning real world things that are going to help me in my career path that I know that I want to pursue. And when I started looking at it like that, it was crazy because that 4 opportunity just landed in my lap.
How did that opportunity present itself to you?
So they reached out through an email, and it was actually because I entered this songwriting competition when I was like 15. And yeah, when I was 15, I entered this songwriting competition called Unsigned Only. And it's like you just put a song in, they judge the song. I ended up coming in second place.
This is your own written song?
Yeah, a song that never even came out. Like, it was trash. But I put the song in and ended up coming in second place. And then when that came in second place, they were looking, the people from the 4, they were looking for the first place person. And then they found it, and it wasn't really what they were looking for. And they were going down the list, and they seen me, and they clicked my links, and they seen like my freestyles on Fremont and everything like that. I was putting up mad content at that time because, you know, I was just making a name for myself. So they're like, man, I think this is a perfect fit. And I got reached out to by this guy, DJ, and he made all the right connections. Shout out to DJ because he went hard. He was super hard in the paint for me. But I definitely, it was like one of those perfect, like, right place, right time opportunities, like, because it landed in my lap. But they had told me, if you want to be on the show, you either have to have graduated or you have to go to school while you're on the show. And that was my big, like, dum 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 moment, because I was like, dang, they're going to think that I'm a slacker. Like, they're going to see me in a school environment and they're going to be like, this is not the kid that we want to put on TV. Like, this is not because it would not be a good model, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it wouldn't be good PR for them.
Exactly. And so I'm thinking about that. And so it was like one of those things where I went to my mom and I'm like, Mom, look, all the things we talked about. I don't pay attention to school. I'm not there to learn. I'm not there to do anything but look cool for my friends. And I'm not there to, you feel me? And I could be doing so much more with the things that I know that I want to do in life. And now I have this opportunity. Let me drop out. Let me get my GED. And I told my mom, and she was like, honestly, I'm glad you asked because I'm tired of you not going to school. And I was like, okay, cool. So we went down to CSN, and she signed the paper for me to drop out of school because she has to sign it because I'm a sophomore, so I'm not able to unenroll myself yet. So she signed the paper for me to drop out. And the same day I asked the lady, I say, hey, can I take the GED? And she was like, well, normally, like, we have a course, you know. Like,
they want you to like follow their study guide.
Yeah,
and take months at a time.
So they're like, yeah, we got like a month-long study course, and I'm like, I don't have a month. I'm like, can I just try to take it? And then she's like, well, if you don't pass it, you have to wait a week. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. But
that's still so much sooner than waiting a month.
So much sooner,
yeah,
right?
That's
so
like 4 attempts.
I'm like, okay, well, just let me try it, right? And she's like, okay, well, we don't have any spot. Like, she got all attitude. She said, okay, well, we don't have any spots today. You're gonna have to come tomorrow. And I was like, okay, I'll come tomorrow. So I went early as hell in the morning because anybody who's took the GED knows it's like an all day process. It's like 8 hours of testing. So I went early in the morning. And I took the GED and I passed with college ready equivalent scores. And that's like better than just a passing score, you know? And so I was like, man, this is what they were going to make me wait 4 years of high school for? Was this like the same question every 4 questions?
Isn't it crazy the facade that the government puts over the school system? You're actually not the first person that I have had on this show that dropped out of school and became successful. Actually, the building that we're sitting in was built by a man who dropped out of school. His name is Sam Cherry.
Shout out Sam Cherry. Shout out my high school dropouts.
He was on the like 40 under 40 list in Vegas. He made a real big name for himself. And I see this becoming a more common trend because people are starting to realize that the school system's broken. I think the internet's kind of exposed that as well.
Exactly. And I don't even think that the school system is necessarily broken. I just think that everybody doesn't have the same path in life, you know? So the things that you might need might be different than the things that I need in life. Like if you want to be a doctor, go to school. You know what I'm saying? Don't just start going cutting people up and thinking that
it's more for the hard sciences now.
Exactly. It's like if you want to do something that, you know, is very, very like detailed book, like by the book, you have to have certain
objective positions, like being a physicist
a
or
scientist,
biology,
a doctor, a biologist.
But the subjective jobs, you know, being like an artist or being like an economist or things of that nature, journalism, you don't really need school for it. You can learn that on the go.
An entrepreneur, exactly. And it's like some of the greatest entrepreneurs today, they say like, you don't need school. You don't need school. Fuck going to college. Go take an internship and take that 4 years that you were going to spend in college at an internship and don't get paid. And then you'll probably end up higher than somebody out of college, because my thing was I know personally people who did everything right in life. They did everything. They got straight A's. They went to college. They
by the book, by societal standards.
Everything. Got out of college, couldn't find a job. Work at McDonald's.
Yep. Yeah.
And it's like, that's what you have to look forward to. Like, and that's not how it works out for everybody. You know, some people, it works out for them. The by the book societal standard, that works out. And that's why I say I don't think that it's broken necessarily. I just think that I had a different path. You know, school isn't for everybody. That doesn't mean school is not for anybody, but school isn't for everybody, you know? And I tell everybody that, especially kids, because I have a lot of kids that come up to me all the time like, hey, I want to drop out of school, but I don't know how to tell my parents. And I'm like, well, do you know what you're going to do? Yeah, I want to be a YouTuber. Okay, well, want and know is a lot different. You know what I'm saying? Like before you go to your mom saying, hey, let me drop out of school, you have to have like some factual proof, like some data proven, I've done this proves that I could do this, and this is where I'm projecting, where it's like a business pitch, you know, because at the end of the day, that's what school is doing for you. They're saying, oh, if you do this and you do this and you do this, then we're going to put you on the path for this.
They're structuring your life.
Exactly.
You broke out of it because you had created your own path.
Exactly. I feel like I created my own structure, because I was sitting and I was thinking, like, even if I did everything by the book and everything worked out, I don't think I would like my life. You know, I can't see myself having a life where somebody else puts a price on the time that I spend, you know, because my thing was always, that's the one thing that we can't get back is time. Like, we can get money, we can get everything else in the world is lucrative. Like, it's going to come, it's going to go, it's going to be there, you know, and we can make it, we can fabricate it, we can imagine it, we can picture it. You can't do that with time, you know?
Yeah, time is something that we'll never get back. There's actually a famous quote where they measure time and money together, where it's like 1 million seconds is 11 days, but 1 billion seconds is 33 years. And so if you think of that, and if you had the $1 billion, and so people who are younger, you're more wealthy in time. But the way to, I guess, portray time is that, would you switch positions with Warren Buffett? He's 90 years old. He's one of the richest people in the world, but he is very poor in time. And that's something that he's never going to get back. Yeah. And the majority of people say that they would not switch positions with him.
No, see, I couldn't, because at the end of the day, if you do, then what guarantee are you going to have that tomorrow you're going to get richer? You know, because tomorrow you definitely could die, because there's a lot of things saying that you're going to die tomorrow. Yeah. There's very few things saying that, you know, that you could do something to get richer than where you are, because you're very, very wealthy already. So I always thought about it like, I don't want to be anybody else because I can surpass them.
Yeah, you valued your time differently, especially at a young age.
Exactly.
I can tell you when I was in high school, it's definitely not what I was thinking. I was thinking of partying and playing football and running track.
Man, I'm very, very glad that I found Fremont at such a young age, because that put me in a work mindset. Like every weekend I just wanted to work because I wanted to have money, you know? And it kept me away from a lot of bad stuff. Like when I was in high school and like when I was in the area where my friends were really doing bad stuff, it kept me away from that stuff because I was working and I didn't have time to do it. So it was like everybody invited me and I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't come. I got to work. Like,
that's smart. Did you continue to perform on Fremont even after appearing on before?
Oh yeah, I'm still down there right now. It's
like your office.
Well, for me, it's you got to make do where you can make do, you know? And right now, with the path my career is on, we have everything in place. You know, we have a team, we have videos, I have great manager, we got good promo, everything's set up, but we lack budget. So we got to remember that, you know, we got to fabricate that. We got to make that come out of thin air. And that's what I do on Fremont is I make money come out of thin air. So that's really why we're out there right now is I'm the funding for my whole project, you know? I'm the funding for everything that we do because I'm independent and I've done everything myself so far. So I'm thankful to have a team now that we can bounce off of and that can help me use that funding that I'm getting for like the best bang out of the buck, you know what I'm saying? But we still got to be out there to grind and get that first buck. Like,
that's so first it's emotionally intelligent and just intelligent in general at such a young age to be aware of all of these different degrees of running a business, but also representing your brand, which is you at the same time.
I appreciate that, dude, man.
I'm taken away by like how far you've come at such a young age. It's really cool to see, especially people in Vegas and, you know, growing up on the East Side, the majority of people don't end up doing something with their lives. It's unfortunate because you kind of have to step past all of your friends, even though you want them to come with you. It's tough to do because the majority of people who are from the East Side are very proud of where we came from. You know, it's a cool culture, but it lacks a lot of motivation.
It's a very, I feel like anybody who's come from like an area like the East Side, whether it's in a different city or anything like that, you want to call it the ghetto, the hood, whatever, I feel like it's a very family-oriented culture, you know? We are very close-knit and bonded, so even if we didn't have much, we had each other, and it was like, we'll all get together on the block or in the one studio apartment, and it'll be 1,500 of us, and we'll all bring something, and we'll make it work, you know? And so I think that is really where everybody gets that mindset of, like, we're going to make do with what we have, and that's where they get content, and that's what I never wanted to be. Because I always wanted more in life. Like, even as a little kid, I would see things on TV. Like, I'd see Ferraris and nice cars and this and that and this and that. And I'll tell my parents, like, I'll tell my mom, like, Mom, I'm going to have that when I'm older. She used to tell me, like, you better be a doctor. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is literally what they would tell me. It was like, oh, you better be a doctor because this is the only way you're going to be able to afford something like that. So that's why school was so important to me when I was a kid, because I thought that was the only way to make money. I was like,
it was that guided path.
Exactly. But then when I got older and I realized, like, damn, you can make some money doing other things, like especially doing something that I love to do, like, it just changed everything for me. And it really, I think it robbed me of that innocence, and innocence is bliss. But that's where a lot of people get that content mindset and that stagnancy from on culture like that, is because they never get the chance. They've never experienced having over like 20 bands at one time. You know what I'm saying? So it's like they've never been robbed of that innocence of actually having money. They've always been broke their whole life, and that's the only thing they've ever known. And it's sad because even though they're happy with that lifestyle, like, people who have came out of that lifestyle, like, at least for me in my mindset, like, I look at it and I think about, like, man, I know you're happy, but it's like a fake happy almost, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying money brings happiness. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm just saying that everybody has their own priorities in life, you know what I'm saying? And I think it's dope that people can, at the end of the day, say, fuck all the money and cars and everything like that. At least I have my
materialism.
family. Exactly. I think that's cool. But at the same time, like, I see it from the other side of, like, I really come from a place where I didn't have anything, you know? Like, I didn't have anything at all. So when I got the chance to have something, I think it just robbed me of that innocence of, like, not knowing what having anything felt like.
Yeah, we'll say making that leap from, you know, not really having much and then appearing on something like The Four, where you're in front of literally millions of people. The show is run by P. Diddy and DJ Khaled. What kind of perception change happened from appearing on The Four that you necessarily weren't aware of growing up?
I think the only perception change that happened in myself was just more of like a confirmation. You know, it was like confirmation for me. Like, this is really what you're meant to do. You know, like, you can't, there's no excuses now. Like, if you don't make it, that's your fault. If you don't make something out of this, that's your fault, because these are people who have made something out of their life in the way that you want to make something out of your life, and they say that you're going to make something out of your life. So it was one of those things where it's like I had confirmation. It was like a cosign in my mind, and it was a cosign in all reality, because, you know, they liked what I did, and even though I didn't win the show, or I didn't, you know, come off the show like with a win or anything like that, I came off with more of, like you said, like a change of my perception, because at least I had something that a lot of people didn't have. I had the moment that I shared with everybody at home and the people on stage and like myself, of they're putting me in a place where I know I want to be. And that's why when I walk out on the stage on The Four, you can kind of see me, and I really just look around and I stop for a minute, because I'm a firm believer that if you can picture things when you close your eyes, like vividly, like it's real life, like everything from the exit sign, how many people, like how many windows are in the room, then when you open your eyes, you can put yourself there, you know? So I wanted to take a second and really just absorb everything, because that's where I wanted to be. That's where I want to be in life. I want to be on big stages. I want to be in front of big people on the regular. I don't want it to be like one special thing here and there, you know what I'm saying? I want that to be my regular life. So that's really where my perception was altered a little bit. It was like, this can be regular life for me, because now I have the first experience that gives me that insight to be able to like picture this.
Take me through, let's just say, the few months after The Four. How dramatic had your life changed because of the audience?
So the few months after The Four was crazy, like real crazy. Like, I was doing like 1 million profile views a week. I was doing over 100,000 story views. Like, so everybody knew who I was. Like, I was hot. I was buzzing. I was actually trending in Germany. So I was in different countries, and so like really it was just the love from the people, like the support from the fans and the supporters, and like I like to think of them like family. So it's like, you know, everybody started treating me like family, like they all wanted to talk to me, get to know me, and that was something that I always wanted in life, because like I said before, oftentimes I was very isolated from people, and that wasn't because of my own doing, you know, that was just the environment I was in. So I always wanted to have a feeling like I fit in and belong, but yet I'm still extraordinary and stand out, you know, because I never wanted to be a sheep. I never wanted to be like everybody else, even if I was in a group with other people, you know. It was more of, I want to be a leader in the group, but I want people to like want to follow my lead, you know? And that's really where everything changed coming off The Four. Like the months passing, you know, I would walk by in the streets, everyone would stop me like, "Oh my God, you're that kid." Like, and even today, like I can't really go outside. I can't go somewhere without somebody recognizing me. You know what I'm saying? And I love it. Like really, I bask in it. You know what I'm saying? This is like,
Glad to hear that.
it's a place that I always wanted to see myself in. Like even when I was a kid, before I knew anything that I was good at, they used to ask me like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I used to tell people famous. And I didn't know why. But now that I look back on it, I realize it's because I was such an awkward little kid because I was so isolated, right? That I'm bad with introductions. I'm super bad with the hi, my name's Dylan, like going and introducing you to myself. But after that, like after we get the scripted, you know, societal standard of, hey, let's have a conversation out the way, we can sit and go on for hours and I'll talk to you. And I'm like, I like being open and I like being able to like have more connection on a deeper level with people when I talk and like when I experience things with people and stuff like that. And that was always something that I had in me. You know what I'm saying? I always like, when I would bond with somebody, I feel something inside, like some warming feeling inside, you know? And it always felt good. It's always where I wanted to be, but it was hard because I couldn't introduce myself, you know what I'm saying? So it gave me like this anxiety of like, man, like I can't go up and talk to them, but I want to play with them, you know what I'm saying? Like I can't go up and introduce myself, but I want them to know who I am. And now that I realize when you're famous, you don't have to introduce yourself. People come up and
It's
talk
an
to
instant
you.
connection, and that social media help assist with that as well.
Exactly. And it's like people feel like they already know who you are. That's why they like podcasts. That's why they like all these things, because they get to know the real you without ever meeting you. So when they meet you, they feel like you've already known each other.
And you could go straight to levels 3, 4, and 5 into a conversation.
Exactly. And we don't have to go through 1, 2, and 3. We don't have to break the ice.
You don't have to talk about it being hot outside.
Exactly. It's like all this awkward conversation, like, hey, you know, oh, you went to Chaparral? Oh, I see the sweater. Like, no, bro, fuck that. Like, tell me
what your belief of existence is.
Yeah, tell me how much money you got invested in Bitcoin and what fucking rates you're trying to invest in a 401k and like things that I wanna, because I always feel like, and this goes back to time is precious, you know what I'm saying? We gotta get the most out of our time. And it's like, why waste our time with conversation that we know both of us hate? You know, if we're gonna have a conversation that both of us hate, we shouldn't have a conversation. It's just like if you're gonna be in a relationship with somebody that you both don't upgrade from, then don't be in a relationship.
Yeah, a relationship that where both people in it are pushing each other to grow.
Exactly. That's the only reason you should be in a relationship. Because if you're not growing with each other in a relationship, then all you're doing is taking this emotional connection or attachment that you've established and you're like holding on to it. And you're limiting yourself from blossoming because you could have different things come along the way that might be better or more or do more for you, you know what I'm saying? But you will never experience those things because you're stuck on somebody that's going to keep you at the same level instead of wanting you to grow.
Yeah, growth is something. There's the famous quote where it's like, if you're not growing, you're dying, you know? So we always have to push forward. And before I had this conversation, obviously I had to do some research and I was looking through your music. You know, you're coming out with an album next week.
Yes.
Something I've noticed through your growth is your Fremont, when you're freestyling on Fremont, the lyrics are a little bit more vulgar,
explicit,
a little bit more, confrontational, whereas like your originals are a little bit more heartfelt, a little bit emotional.
Most definitely. I tell everybody that because you have to know your scenario. You have to know your environment. Like I know who I'm pitching to when I'm on Fremont. I know y'all are drunk. I know y'all are here to turn up. That's what we come to Vegas for, right? Okay, that's cool. I'm gonna give you that experience, and it's really an experience, and that's my job as not only a performer but an entertainer, not only an artist but an entertainer. Like I have to entertain, so not everybody wants the heartfelt, like real music. Sometimes people just want to turn up and have fun, and that's fine. I'll let you turn up and have fun, you know what I'm saying? But when it comes to my actual art, like what I do and what I make, I take a lot of pride in, you know, the deeper meaning. I take a lot of pride in being able to actually say that I put consistency in my music and something that that means more instead of just making turn up music, because everybody wants to turn up. Like, I get everybody wants to turn up, and so we'll make some turn up music, you know, but for the most part, I try to keep my music relative to what I'm going through and the things in my life, because it's really like therapy for me, you know. Music is how I express myself. Like, I'm still socially awkward. Like, that's one thing that I always had a hard time doing, is I can't really, I'm getting better at it now, because as I get older, I'm maturing, especially like conversationally, and making sure that I can like tiptoe around things without being confrontational. But that was the problem for a long time, was I felt like I couldn't say anything because I'd be very confrontational, because I feel like if I say that you hurt me, then hurt people, and you're going to want to like be like, oh no, you hurt me. And then that just makes me mad, you know what I'm saying? And then it gets overblowed with emotion, and we don't need that. Like, that's where I was my whole childhood, and I don't need that, you know what I'm saying? So I always try to stay away from that and shy away from that. And that's why I would put everything into music, because it's like, okay, I can't tell you how I feel right now, but hey, listen to this song, you know? And like, they would listen to it and be like, is that really how you feel about me? I'd be like, sometimes.
Do you have a specific process when it comes to writing original tracks?
For me, really, I used to have this process where I would go down and I would have to lay like a reference track before, and then I would come off the reference track and I would just put words to it. Now, shout out my engineer, Jeremiah, because he's been teaching me to record myself. So I've been able to work a lot more freely, a lot more free flowing. And so my work is a lot more, not only efficient, but a lot freer. And it's a lot like more loose, you know? Okay. So now I don't really have too much structure when it goes into like how I'm going to write a song. I kind of play it and I just let the energy like take me, because it's a vibe, you know? Everything about music is like, it's a vibe. That's why if you're making turn up music, like, you have to be turned up. You can't make turn up music like this ain't turned up.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Turn up music is literally all about the energy.
Exactly. And it's like, you could be saying the shittiest shit, and that's like 6ix9ine, for example, like no bars at all. But because it's turned up, like, it feels turned up, and that's what it gives you. Like, we have to realize that 95% of the world is sheeps, you know? So monkey see, monkey do. And so if you're turned up, then everybody else is going to be turned up, you know? Back when Waka Flocka was big, literally #1 touring artist, he would sell out every tour he would go on, because he was a turned up, big dreadhead guy on stage talking about Brick Squad, waka, 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 you know? And people in other countries, that was different. Like, they never seen that before, you know? That's not regular to them. So, you know, different is good when you make music. And so I try to keep everything in the energy and the flow of which I work, just on a vibe, like whatever I feel like, or whatever the feeling in the room is, or whatever, you know. I capture inspiration from every aspect of life.
And this new album that you're releasing next week, how does this differ from your previously released singles?
On this album, I feel like we're just focusing on growth. That's like the whole main, you know, basis of what the whole album is about, is growth. It's called The Sweet Life of Dylan Jacob, because it's basically like, this is how I grew. This is how I came from the suites, from 1-bedroom studio apartments to, even though I'm still on the east side, I'm in a nice little house, and I'm doing okay, you feel me? This is my growth. This is how I'm getting where I want to be, you feel me? And that's what this album is definitely focused on, is just growth. The fact that, you know, you don't have to be in one place all the time, that, you know, there can be parts of your life where you're turning up, and that's part of your growth, you feel me? There could be parts of your life where you're slacking off, and that's part of your growth. There could be parts of your life where it's kind of sad, you know, and you have the right to be sad, feel your emotions. And I think that's really what I'm just focusing on in this album, is just, You know, every song is a vibe, and every song is gonna make you feel the vibe that it's trying to, you know.
How many tracks are on this album?
There's 7 on this one. So
and how many songs have you released originally, previously?
Let me see. Original. Four.
So you're almost you're almost doubling or tripling what you have out already.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah. I've been definitely slacking on giving people content, you know, because for a long time after the show, I was caught up in a little contract where if I dropped anything, then basically
you lose your creative rights.
They would retain the rights to whatever I drop.
Yeah, this seems to plague a lot of artists in the industry.
Exactly. And that's fine. Like, I honestly, if I had it to do over, I wouldn't do anything over because I don't regret anything in life. But if the same opportunity was presented to me again, I would have dropped the whole time. I would have dropped and stayed consistent the whole time, because it doesn't matter if I would have gained the royalty check off that song. I would have gained so much more, you know, so many more opportunities, like brands and partnerships. My biggest problem coming off the show is I had no team. You know, it was me and it was my mom, and that was it.
Yeah, and you're still so young, you know,
and
just
I'm
dropped
young.
out of school.
I can't really talk business. They don't want to talk business with me. They want to talk business with my manager, which is my mom right now. And then my mom had to go back to work, and she's working 12-hour days. And so these people are calling her with opportunities, and she's not able to.
She doesn't know how to evaluate it either.
Well, she's a smart woman. Like she can evaluate business, you know. But, and I won't take none of that from her. But she just doesn't have the time. She's tired, bro. Like imagine, so my mom's a Teamster. She works for the union. She goes and takes down and sets up conventions.
Oh, my uncle does the same thing.
Puts big walls up, like, and she's 40-something years old, you know? So imagine, like, you work 12 hours, blood, sweat, and tears, and then you got somebody on the phone that wants to have an hour-long conversation with you about possibly reaching out to do a brand partnership with your son and everything. But at the moment, like, you don't have any evidence that this is real money either, you know? Like, and there's so many people that are going to call you with fake opportunities. There's so many people that are tell you they're going to do this, they're going to do that, and they won't do anything, you know? And so sometimes it's hard to weave out the real from the fake. And especially when you have other stuff on your plate, like...
Yeah, publicity breeds reward, but also breeds fraud. That comes with it, too.
Exactly. And coming off the show, you know, I had so many opportunities. Like, I had opportunities coming at me left and right. But when you're not able to immediately hop on those opportunities, like, the industry, it doesn't care. You know? You're hot one day, you're cold the next. Like, and that's just how it is. And I realize that now, you know what I'm saying? Like, I always say, I don't have any losses. I just have lessons. Like, I don't take losses. I just learn from it.
It's a great outlook to have in life.
I won't do it again, you know? Like, I try to be wise. So I try not to make my own mistakes. I try to just learn from other people's mistakes. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes we can't be wise. We just got to be smart and go.
You have to be strategical.
Learn from ourselves, you know?
Yeah, you have to be strategical.
Most definitely.
So I'm very fascinated with, honestly, even to go back to this topic, with your Fremont raps, right? Because being a freestyle artist and watching some of your videos, you're so quick with your thoughts and being able to portray what you were seeing through your artistic touch of freestyle rap. How do you get so good at something like that?
Man, I tell everybody, it's like one day it just clicked. You know, I was doing it, but I wasn't good. Like, I won't ever say that I was when I started, you know. But I had this blinding confidence because of the things that people gave me, like the attention and the money that I got from Fremont. It gave me this blinding confidence of just like, no, I'm good, you know. And I was a kid, so when you're a kid, like, you're going to believe what's in front of your face. And looking back, I'm like, oh man, I kind of sucked, you know? Um, but now it's just, I get in the zone. Like, I can't explain it any other way. It's like blinders. Like, I don't see anything but what's right in front of me. And it's like, the best way I could describe it is don't think. Like, I don't think. If
Just
I
act.
think, yeah, it's just like an action. Like, it's like second nature almost. Because if I think, I mess up. Like, even myself, I have a speech impediment, so I stutter. Like, and it was bad when I was little. Like, and so it's gotten a little bit better now. But really, all it was my brain thinks too fast for my mouth to talk. Really, I swear. Like,
I would have never guessed this.
I'm 3 sentences ahead in my head, you know. But my talk, like my mouth has to catch up, and so everyone used to tell me just breathe, like just sit, breathe, right, think. And when I rap, it's just so, like you said, it's so smooth. 'Cause it feels like second nature. It's so fluid. Like, I don't have to think about what I'm saying. It just comes, you know? I just think about what I want to say. And then it says it for me. Like the inner me just says it and it comes out. It's almost like kind of an out of body experience sometimes. And that's why, like, sometimes you'll talk to a lot of people who see me on Fremont and they will have bad things to say about me. They'll be like, oh, he's so arrogant and cocky. He didn't even want to talk to me and da-da-da. No, I'm in a mode. Like, I'm sorry. Come back and have a conversation with me, and I'll have a conversation with you. But like, when I'm on Fremont, you have to understand that I'm there for 2 reasons. I'm there, 1, to make money, and 2, to do a show. You know, to be entertaining.
entertain.
And I have, like, people don't understand all the things that go into it. Like, with a real freestyle show, it's like, okay, I'm sitting here. I'm analyzing everybody in the crowd as they're walking up. And I'm judging you by how you walk, like your body language, all the second nature things. And from that judgment that I make from you, now I'm putting on an instrumental that I think suits what you like musically, and then making myself say things that I know is going to catch your attention. So you sit. Because once I got your attention and you're stuck, you're stuck.
Yep,
You're stuck. It's like you're not going to leave. Because I said too many things and developed too many emotional attachments for you to just walk away. So that's cool. That's how I get everybody. It was like, the one thing that I could say, the one class that I liked in high school was psychology. I took psychology all the way till I dropped out. And I'm looking at taking some more psychology right now, because they taught me so much about just second nature, like the things that the brain doesn't mean to do, but it just does, you know? And when I was going into middle school, like, probably the best thing my dad ever did for me is he made me read this book, and the book was Body Language by some, I forgot the
Body
name.
language speaks louder than a lot of verbal communication can.
Exactly. So the whole book was on body language. The whole book was on, like, literally there was a chapter on, like, handshakes, what these handshakes mean, like what it means when somebody puts 2 hands, what it means when somebody flips your hand, what it means when, like, somebody grabs your inner arm, like, subconsciously what it means. And these people don't even know what it means, you know, like the people who are doing it half the time don't even know what their handshake means, you know. And so I'm, like, studying all these things because I was socially awkward. Like, I was bad at analyzing people because I wasn't around people a lot. So I started studying these things, and I realized, like, how insecure other people were around me, and it made me more secure in myself, you know, because I was like, damn, I'm not the only one. Because I know that when you do this, that means that you don't like this about yourself. Like, oh, or when you do this, that means that you have a secret, like, thing about this. Or,
yeah, it's just like modeling, right? When you're with somebody, and if you're crossing your arms and they cross their arms too, then they're in line with what you're thinking, like they're favoring you. And a lot of people don't
Exactly.
realize it, but if you're aware of it and you notice that they're doing the same thing, then you're like, all right, I have them.
Exactly. Either they're favoring you or they're trying to like mimic you to gain some type of like attachment to you. You know what I'm saying? Like I've ran into that as well. I've ran into situations where I know exactly what something means, and then it will be, everything has two sides, you know? Everything has a negative and a positive. Everything has a black and a white, you know what I'm saying? So a yin and a yang, if you will. So just as you can mimic me because you like me is just as you can mimic me because you want my position, you know? And so I think about those things, and then that's really what made me such a beast, I guess, at what I do, is because I just evaluate people all day. And it's like, I know that you don't like him because he does this. So I'll do this and I'll make you like me instead. You know what I'm saying? And now especially when like I see people all the time, they don't like somebody like performing down the block, you know? And then I'll see exactly what they don't like, and I'll either mimic it and do the same thing, or I'll do something different, like the opposite, because immediately there's an emotional connection already. Like, you got mad at him. That's an emotion that you felt, right? So if you're mad at him, if I can make you mad at me, it's going to make you stay. It's going to make you come around. Or if I can make you feel the other way, like you're loving me but you're mad at him, it's going to make you have a conflict of interest that's going to make you stay, because you're like, oh, you're so much better than him, or da-da-da, right?
So you're almost conducting a human experiment when you're up there.
Exactly, with every single person that walks by. And so that's really just how my whole brain thinks, like, at once, you know what I'm saying? So like I said, there's a lot of people who come up and they'll be like, man, Dylan's a dick, and I'll be like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? You're judging me off one time, and that's okay, because I get it. People judge people. But at the same time, like, you also have to understand, like, you wouldn't walk up to Sway Lee while he's in the middle of performing on stage and be like, hey, what high school did you go to? You know what I'm saying? Like, it just doesn't work like that, you know? And so...
Read the room, man. Read the room.
Exactly. Like, you can't just... I think the problem is a lot of times people think that maybe they just underestimate the amount of work that I put in out there, or they underestimate the amount of people I see, or they just don't get the dynamic of which everything works out there, you know? Because I have a lot of people coming up and they're like, oh, you remember me? I was here 3 months ago. Like, and I'm like, no, I don't remember you. I'm sorry. No, bro, you remember me. I don't remember you. I'm sorry. What's your name? Like, and that's another thing, is like, people will be like, no, I told you my name and everything. I'm really bad with names.
You see so many people.
I see so many people.
Dude, you're literally like the Charles Darwin of Fremont Street.
I've never heard that one.
I had that thought while you're talking. Good. I was like, oh my God, he sees so many different species of people.
No,
like,
for
and you're
real,
evaluating it. And the thing that you're doing, which many people can't, is you're contextualizing it, and you're matching the specific situation to the person and how they act, so that you understand that not every situation is the same.
It's the same, exactly. Just as we were talking before, you know, not everybody has the same needs. Like, some people need school, some people don't. It's the same thing. Like, not everybody is the same. Not everybody wants to hear the same thing. But sometimes it's an evaluation, too, of, like, who's more important, you know? Is this person who wants to hear slow, lovey-dovey music more important than this 5 people who want to hear turned-up music? Are these 5 people who want to hear turned-up music giving me more money than this one person who wants to hear slow, lovey-dovey music? Like, and it's like a business aspect at the same time of, like, a creative aspect. And I tell people all the time, you know, it takes a lot out of you. Like, personally, as an artist, like, doing that for 4 hours, like, it's draining, you know? You get done and you just feel like you're empty inside. Like, you have no soul. because you gave these people so much. Like it's such an out of body experience that it's like you almost have to find your way back into your body, like afterwards.
Yeah, it sounds like you're able to decipher the difference between an audience and your fans, right? Like when you're performing on Fremont, that's your audience. They're not necessarily, maybe some of them are your fans, but the majority of them, it's the audience that you have to entertain. Whereas
Exactly.
online or the people who've been following you, they're more your fans. And so you have to cater and kind of baby them differently.
Exactly. And it's also like this. It's like once you're a fan, you're hooked. You know what I'm saying? If you're a real fan, you know what I'm saying? So whether I put out this music, that music, whether I do this or that or this, and you don't technically like that, you're going to listen to it anyway because you're a supporter, you're a fan. Like this is, you feel me? That's what you do. You support the things that you're a fan of, and you support the things that you have. I mention emotional connection so much because that is so big in life and people don't understand that. Like, we will not move if we do not feel an emotional connection to something. And emotional connection doesn't mean that you have to love something, hate something, anything like that. It can literally be like the littlest thing from when you think about McDonald's, you think about a Coca-Cola. You feel me? And that's the emotional connection it has, and it makes you like want that. And it's so big. It plays such a major role. But back to what we were saying with the fans, like I feel like once I gain this fan base, once I get y'all, once I hook you, then you're emotionally connected to me. You know, we can go through the same things, and you can go through the ups and the downs with me. While as on Fremont, that's why, you know, it's turned up most of the time, is because I'm giving you something to stop for. That's it. Like, I know what it is. I know my role. I know the job I play. You're not going to remember me after this. And if you do, then you're going to follow me and hopefully like keep up on the things that I'm posting and stuff like that. But in all reality, you liked me for that me. In the moment. You know what I'm saying? In the moment. The Dylan Jacob that was turned up, smacking girl booty while she was twerking on him, he was rapping at the same time, standing on a bucket. Like, and that's okay. Like, I get that. You know what I'm saying? But when you get to my actual page and you see my actual music and stuff, that's where the big deciding factor comes, you know? Whether it's, do you really fuck with Dylan Jacob or do you fuck with turning up?
Fremont Dylan Jacob.
Exactly. It's like they're different, but they're the same at the same time, you know? It's just time and place, environment. You know, you're not going to talk the same way to your mom and dad as you're going to talk to the president of the United States. You know?
Do you think you'll ever grow past Fremont Street?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. I'm trying to evade and get out of there as fast as possible. Really, at this point, it's becoming more of a liability than it is anything else, you know? But it's
How so?
like you got to pay the bills. Just there's a lot of bullcrap that goes on, you know?
The negatives are starting to outweigh the positives.
Yeah, there's a lot of politics. Not only with like law enforcement, but there's a lot of politics with just like people in general. You know, you put money around people start acting different no matter what. So whether that's people tripping over, oh, you're near my spot, or other people tripping because you make more money than them and they don't have a crowd, or whatever the case may be, there's a lot of politics that go into it, you know, and I've seen the worst of the worst that could happen out there. And it's like, it's just not the environment that I want myself in, or I want my family in.
You're growing past it, as we've been preaching on, you know, growing and understanding what the next evolution is, the next stage.
Exactly.
And now you've grown into this new album. And what do you hope that all of your fans get out of this album release? Like, what are you looking to? Is there anything specific that you're looking for them to gain from this? Or
growth, man. Just growth. That's the whole main objective, is just understanding that the growth that you go through is meant to happen. And even if it's happening differently for you, it's meant to happen. That's why, like, it's meant to happen different for you. Like, you know, and I think that when people hear this album, that they're going to understand that, you know, not everything has to be perfect. because not everything was perfect for me, you know? Like I said, I've seen the ugliest of ugly on Fremont. I've seen everything from shootings to stabbings to people dying to, you know, to the worst fights and robbing and the worst, the worst. But I've also seen a lot of good times from Fremont. I've met a lot of good people, and you know, like I said, there's a yin and a yang. There's a balance to everything. And as much as I'm grateful for the opportunity that has presented to me, as much as I'm grateful for the ability that gave me to take care of not only myself but my family, take care of my career, like be able to reinvest in myself. Like you said, you know, there comes a time when you just outgrow things, and that's not the place for me anymore. You know, I'm too accessible, and especially when you are from somewhere, people tend not to like it when you gain success until it's real success. You know what I'm saying? Until you have like your own show on the strip and people don't want to hop on the bandwagon. They want to go against it because they're like, oh no, because they feel like they want to be where you are. You know,
I'm literally lighting up you saying that because I've said that exact same idea multiple times on the podcast.
It's the Vegas thing.
They silently support you until you've reached this magnitude of success where they're almost forced to support you, or
like
else
all of a sudden, oh, I went to school with them, and all of a sudden it's this and that, and it's this and that, and it's like I got a little taste of that when I was on the TV, because I had people who literally bullied me in school. That hit me up and were like, bro, I seen you on the TV. We should hang out. Like, what are you talking about, bro? Like, you were just saying that I was a loser and I was never going to be anything in life and, like, saying all these hurtful things to me. But now you want to hang out. It's all because at the end of the day, people hate things that they secretly are obsessed with. You know? We hate things because we envy them and we don't have them. And so people seen something in me when I was young, you know, and they didn't want to see it. They wanted so bad for it not to be true that they would say anything to try to make it not true, you know. And then when I proved it, it was one of those things like, oh, the proof is in the pudding now. You got to eat it. Like, there's nothing else to do. I always told people, I'm like, whether you like me or you hate me, you're going to see me.
Straight up. And
so in Vegas, you know, that could be very dangerous, being so accessible and being so out there, you know what I'm saying? Because, I mean, luckily I was blessed with, my biological brother is literally a 6'7" actual armed security guard. Like, this is what he does with his life, you know what I'm saying? So I've been blessed enough to be in the position of it's kind of meant to be for me. You know, I have my own personal security, and that's really what he does, is personal security. And so I pay him and everything, but it's like not nearly as much as somebody else would have to pay him if it was just random. And I know that he's going to protect me like it's himself.
Literally, yeah.
Literally, because we're flesh and blood. Like, that's my blood brother, you know? So I've been lucky enough that has gotten me out of so much trouble and situations, like out of so many things that could have gone really bad. You know, he's handled that, you know, and he's been able to make us come out on top every time. And I'm ready to move past those situations for us, you know, for both of us, for me, for my brother, for my whole family, my team, because that's a risk that every night, you know, we're taking that risk. Every night we have the risk that, you know, we might not come back tonight. We might not come back home from rapping on the street. And as sad as that is, that's the reality. You know what I'm saying? So until we get that budget, until we get that thing popping, that's what we got to do. But it's just being cautious. You know what I'm saying? It's about even though you know you might, or even though you might feel you've outgrown something, I'm a firm believer that God doesn't give you anything till you're ready for it, you know, because you might not be able to handle it.
I think you were definitely on the path, on the road to that success. Before we get out of here, I always ask one same question to every single person who's been on this podcast. And so your parting question is, what does Las Vegas mean to you?
Home. It's my home, man. At the end of the day, I love it for all the pretty, ugly, everything in between. It's my home. There'll never be another city like it because there's never another city that I'll be from again. You know what I'm saying? I can't get reborn or, I mean, maybe I can. I don't know. But yeah, Las Vegas is my home, man. I can't do anything but really just put on for my city. That's the only thing I want to do. I just want to be able to put on for my city, man. I want to be able to give us a face and give us a culture that we made, you know? Because so many times there's people coming from Vegas and they're not really from Vegas, and I feel like they just give us a bad rap, you know? Because a lot of times they act a certain type of way, and it's like, that's cool and all, but that's not really how we act, you know what I'm saying?
That's
People
why
who
we're
are really
unicorns.
from Vegas, or I tell everybody, I'm like, this is a roll the dice city, man. And what I mean by that is you have literally people who are from here. If you're from here, you know this to be a fact. Like, it's roll the dice, because you could have been raised with the richest person on the entire planet, and you could have been raised with the poorest person in the worst situation, and anywhere in the middle, you know what I'm saying? And you could have experience in all of it at the same time in one life, you know? And so it's one of those roll the dice cities. Like, you never know what you're going to get out of it. But luckily, we got Dylan Jacob.
Couldn't have said it any better. Where can all of the listeners and viewers learn more about you?
Yeah, you can find me everywhere at Dylan Jacob Music. Website, dylanjacob.com. It's going to take you to every social media I have. You can read a short little bio about your boy and get a little inside to who I am if you didn't get no inside from this. And then TikTok for Dylan Jacob.
Hopping on the game.
I'm trying, man. It's hard because I tell everybody I'm like, really, I'm old. I'm just in this young person body. You know, I really believe my soul is probably like 62 or something because I be so late on the trends and all the you know what's popping, and I'm so technologically unadvanced. It's ridiculous, but it's okay. You know, we're making it do, and we're definitely gonna get on that wave. So make sure you guys tap in before it's too late, because you don't want to be that guy that was secretly hating until we actually got there, and then be like, oh, yeah, I knew you. You know what I'm saying? So,
well, Dylan, I'm incredibly taken away by your intelligence through this conversation, and your awareness for what society is and not how it's portrayed. So,
man, I appreciate that.
You definitely have a fan and not an audience member in me.
Hey, man, I really appreciate that, for real. That last sentence was something like I'll get that tattooed on my body. Understanding for what society is and not what it's portrayed to be.
Yeah, straight up. Thank you for doing this. I look forward to sometime doing this again in the near future. I'm going to be a fan, listen to your album, hopefully come through at the party, and I know we'll see each other again in the future.
Yeah, most definitely, y'all. Go make sure you cop that album that's coming out. It's 6 days now. We got the album coming out on December 18th on my birthday. I'm turning 19.
This will be released Thursday, so the day before.
Oh, okay.
Yep, so one day.
So
tomorrow.
One day. We got 1 day to the album. Make sure y'all go cop that. Make sure you listen. Give it a good listen. It's all about growth, man. Just yourself and me. Go through the growth stages with me and realize that you're not alone. Every aspect of life. And if you guys are in the Vegas area, then come out and celebrate with me. We gonna have an album release party. It's up in the Henderson area. And we're just going crazy. We're going to have some live performances. We're going to play the album for you guys. We're going to have some food and drinks. And it's just going to be a good time. You're going to be able to come turn up with me and just have a good time, you know?
Let's go.
Let's go.
Thank you, Dylan, again for this. Looking forward to the future. And thank all of you guys for listening. We will catch you next time.